think I am up next. Is that right, y'all? I need folks to give a much more love out of the React down there. I've got two screens, by the way. I need to give much more love to the students and faculty who just spoke. So I don't know if it's a heart or a clap or something, but it takes a lot of guts and strength and energy to get up and do this, no matter how old or whatever experience you have. But truth telling takes energy and a lot of courage. So throughout all of this, I mean, I don't care if you throw it at me. I probably have too much courage. That's that white male privilege crap. But give it to them a lot. So I'm Christian Matthias. I teach in community and justice studies in a leaky office in the basement of King Hall, where when it rains, it's a waterfall down the window, like they'd installed a water feature. So every time I hear about these excessive renovations, it just reminds me that the physical infrastructure we try to work in is representative of what it's like. I have 15 years of organizing experience with the AAUP. It's the American Association of University Professors. And that's the organization that for over 100 years, let me make sure I can see the chat, that for over 100 years has protected academic integrity, right? And so what I want to do today is talk to you about what the AAUP and what faculty do and help you understand financial exigency. But before we begin, right? Oh yeah, it smells in my office. Thank you, Michael. Before we begin, I want to remind you all that this is still, at least for a little while, an academic institution. And that means that unlike the current interim president or trustees or academic dean or provost, we cite our sources, right? So I'm not going to come at you with propaganda or messages that aren't backed up by around 100 years of sources. I would invite any administrators or trustees who are trying to carry out this bizarre agenda to cite your sources. Here are mine. They'll be included at the end of the presentation. What I want to do is help everyone here understand financial exigency. It's a fancy piece of jargon that I want to unpack. But you can't understand financial exigency without understanding these other things. Academic integrity, or what's sometimes called academic freedom. I like to use integrity because I think it's more direct or more specific than freedom. Shared governance, financial solvency, program review, and program prioritization. Now, before I say anything else, I want to say that I come at this with a lot of gratitude for my time at Guilford College, which is coming into 3 years, for the unbelievably fabulous students and colleagues and staff. I come at it with a lot of grief too. Many of my closest colleagues are facing termination in May, and many of these lovely staff who have been the heart and soul of the college were fired without cause. And also, I mean, it just seems to me so that some upper administrators can continue to maintain their excessive salaries, right? Everything I'm about to tell you is the kind of thing I wish I had been taught when I was a first-year undergrad. I wish I had rolled into orientation and somebody helped me understand what was at stake in what we do. So with that said, let me try. Let me start with financial solvency. Financial solvency means we can pay the bills and we can do it long-term. We can pay people what we agreed to by contractual obligation, and we can sustain programs and degrees, right? Financial solvency is good. Now, what is the relationship between our finances, our academics, and governance? I want to paint a picture of the interconnections so you understand what's at stake, because all of these parts are related in a way to protect the academic integrity of the institution, but the roots are not always clear. So think about it this way. Think about Guilford College as a beautiful tree with deep roots, right? And there are these external forces like the water and the sun, right? Markets and finances that we have to try and work with. And that's real tough, right? It's not easy. But what we want to do is we want to maintain a very diverse liberal arts curriculum, a place with shared governance and academic integrity. And shared governance means that students, faculty, staff, administrators, trustees, and even some of our community partners are involved in the design of process. It's not just somebody comes in and says, hey, let me appoint you to do this, or let me hire you to do this, or you get a say. Shared governance means that those stakeholders get a say in how process is created, how process is revised, and they get a say in who is appointed. It's deep shared governance, right? You're not just plugged in because somebody likes you and favors you, or kicked out because somebody doesn't. Your stakeholders get a say in how it happens. Faculty use shared governance to protect academic integrity. One of the things we protect is a diverse representation of curriculum that allows us to talk about social justice and be protected doing it, and a curriculum that helps you challenge power. Every student here has power, forms of power you probably don't even know about. When you trim back and cut off parts of that tree, Your ability to understand power dynamics and all sorts of other things in society is cut off as well. The ability to engage in liberatory and transformative thinking and action, imagination, and work is cut off when that tree is cut back. Sometimes we have to cut things, and it's awful and it's hard. But when we do it with shared governance, we do our best to maintain academic integrity. Now, the question I want you to ask is, what is at the root of financial exigency, shared governance, and academic integrity? What is at the root of that tree? What is at the root of that tree is the faculty-student relationship, the ancient priority of the teacher-student dynamic that no one else gets a say in unless we screw it up. The faculty-student relationship has all sorts of ancient problems too. It has problems with racism, sexism, cisgenderism, ableism, religious intolerance. And we got to keep that curriculum diverse because those of us here and now and in the future need it. I went to school at a time when I could not get on and say what the former student said. That curriculum liberated me. It liberated Tiffany. Those curriculums liberate people who are sitting here and in class and in school with you right now who have no voice. Forms of human diversity and difference we don't even know are there yet. This thriving ecosystem and organism depends on that protection of that relationship. We need shared governance and academic integrity to share in the management of the institution. So let's look at where this is going. What is financial exigency? Why do we need to demand that trustees open up the financial records? I think Tiffany has already made the case, but let me connect some of the parts, right? Financial exigency, again, cite your sources, Garland, 1983. The concept of financial exigency is embedded within the common law of tenure as a concession to financial realities. That means when we can't do the financial thing as well as we want, we have to make a concession, and it's hard. A declaration of financial exigency signals an institution's inability to meet salary obligations to tenured professors. That also expands to include a lot of us, like staff and untenured professors and contingent faculty. What it means is we can't pay the bills now or the long term. We can't pay people what we agreed to pay. That our operating costs and expenditures are over what we bring in, or we owe debts that exceed what we have. So sometimes, to prevent closing the school altogether, we have to restructure how the school operates or reorganize it or reinvent it. And those are really corporate terms that are tricky. I don't like saying restructure, reorganize, and reinvent. When they're done within the bounds of shared governance, right? When they're done with all of the stakeholder partners being connected to that process, it can be done with integrity, and we can share the pain and we can share the difficulty. The critical moment we are at right now is that either the trustees need to open all the financial record to review by employees, students, alum, and creditors, or we have to maintain an active suspicion that some other agenda is at play. Even if the books are opened, right, and we see the finances, we need shared governance processes that keep stakeholders in play to maintain academic integrity. So why do institutions go through program review and program prioritization, right? Why does this happen? Because that's kind of what we're being forced to do right now. Academic review is ongoing and periodic. It happens a lot. We make updates to Gen Ed. We change academic requirements, what it means to earn a different kind of degree or be in a major. We change because our accreditation body, SACS, requires it. There are changes in the accreditation standards. And maybe most importantly to me, we have to update the curriculum to keep up with the diverse and changing world, what sciences are discovering, what the arts are creating, what the social sciences are investigating, what the humanities are imagining, right? We have to be able to do this. Sometimes when it gets tough, in the unusual and emergency circumstances, we go through prioritization. That's when we add or eliminate degrees or programs. We reduce or increase the number of faculty and staff. And we direct our resources to sustain the core academic priorities. That does happen sometimes. But what's being carried out right now is far outside the bounds of anything we can call integrity. Maintaining academic integrity through program review and prioritization depends on shared governance with faculty and students and staff and trustees and all of our stakeholders, right? So why do it? Why declare financial exigency? The benefits of declaring exigency are to maintain integrity, right? I hope I've made the case. To maintain and restore trust if we feel that trust has been violated. Also, the more of those thinkers and stakeholders who are involved in the caretaking of the institution help us identify different opportunities to repair the financial situation. We can also revise our operating strategies, make them more effective or to reduce any place where we're not taking care of students and faculty and staff in the curriculum. We also can avoid legal risks. Opening the books allows us to be truthful and honest so that no one is fired without cause under deceptive circumstances and then files a lawsuit to contest their illegitimate firing. The consequences are real. In some cases, it injures temporarily the reputation of the school. Sometimes it happens. Sometimes employees and community members and stakeholders lose a bit of temporary confidence. But the thing that's really worrying me is that if this agenda continues without opening the books in some way, in a way that shows integrity, we're facing potential legal liability. And we don't know that there might be evidence of malfeasance or mismanagement or misuse of funds. I'm worried that there is something going on, and I don't want to sound like a conspiracy theorist, but I cannot understand what is being hidden and why we wouldn't be doing this with open honesty and integrity. So, institutions declare financial exigency so we can all have confidence that those who charge with financial duty to the school have done their due diligence. And if anyone's terminated, what is sometimes referred to as RIF, reduction in force, if any programs are eliminated, we know it was financially unavoidable and we were in the process, okay? So why might trustees and senior administrators force us into this process, but refuse to follow the standard principled and policy-based commitment to exigency? Why throughout the faculty handbook? Why throughout well over 100 years of base principles and practices the AAUP has outlined and faculty have protected for a very long time? Let's look at what the history of US higher education teaches us. It teaches us that we need to question the potential that there's opportunism. There's a bad infection at play, right? Now, I need to give a disclaimer. I am not making these accusations of the former and current administration or trustees. I am trying to foster educated questions through references to peer-reviewed research. I can cite my sources. I dare the trustees and interim president to do the same. Right, so why does this happen without declaring exigency? Typically, there are 3 dastardly reasons. Yeah, I just used dastardly. It's an underused word. Sometimes a small group with a regressive anti-liberal arts ideology wants to eliminate objectionable curriculum and faculty, destroy tenure protections, get rid of faculty with controversial scholarship, and install faculty with favorable perspectives. Sometimes the high salary earning administrators foresee personal profits in a new management structure where institutions don't create educated people with degrees. The institution sells products and faculty are purely employees, students, or customers. This is also a career building path for people who want to pass through on the way to another job. One of the other common reasons is that trustees and others with personal business interests have some sort of long-term plan to sell off leased trade land and infrastructure to private for-profit business ventures, give their buddies some sort of advantage to get a stake of the college's massive financial endowment. Make sure you all see those, right? Okay, let's take a look at the next piece. So what does Guilford College look like if the prioritization process goes forward with no declaration of exigency or some sort of other open integral process that represents honesty, consistency, and shared governance? What happens if this goes forward without protecting academic integrity based on that teacher-student relationship? The teachers become cheap labor, students become customers, and let me give you a different picture. This is what is referred to as the neoliberal agenda for higher education. That's what I've already said. Students are customers, management owners run the whole show and earn high salaries while employee labor of faculty is exploited further. We have narrowly defined educational products, not degrees, just these educational products that are marketed and sold for profit. Business interests begin to take over and increasingly dominate the decisions of the management owners. The tree is rootless and looks more like this. The neoliberal agenda is about uprooting and eroding the ancient teacher-student relationship, academic integrity, and the base of a highly diverse academic curriculum. This means those things I talked about earlier, the ability to engage in learning about social justice and the creative process of liberation and transformation, is eradicated. So what does propaganda around this look like? Let me give you a short list. I want you to have some takeaways. right? One, you're going to hear this. You're going to hear it said, this is normal. This is not normal. What is happening is an aberration. It is contrary to historical evidence and over a century of best practices and ancient academic roots. You're going to be told this is being done using nationally recognized criteria. False. It is a violation of institutional policies and all nationally recognized practices of shared governance against all respected academic principles. You'll be told there are opportunities for faculty and programs to appeal, right? There is no legitimate appeals process. All appeals go back to the same person who is carrying out the agenda. One of our most ancient conceptions of injustice, of the 4 or 5 dominant ideas of injustice, is that there is no appeal. To be able to appeal against power and authority, to go and be able to say, this hurts, please make it stop. Appeal is a basis for justice. That there is no basis for appeal is a fundamental indicator of injustice. You're going to be told market data shows that students aren't interested in liberal arts degrees. This is false, it's unfounded, and it's mostly the propaganda messaging of marketing folks. Marketing is a for-profit, business-oriented discipline. People in charge of marketing and higher education over the last couple of decades have increasingly over-marketed programs consistent with the interests of for-profit industries, certain civil service jobs, and technical fields, and under-marketed and under-supported liberal arts, humanities, social science, and all sorts of other fields that tend to help people question power and imagine a future that isn't run by for-profit cronies. Okay, you gotta look at those. It's Google Slides, catching up. I really need to take a class on slide design. All right. So to avoid information, misinformation, misdirection, right? You're going to hear that this is the only way to save the institution. There are various strategies we could take that include a blend of trustees personally investing to make reparations for mismanagement. Sell your second homes, liquidate some of your assets. If you were involved in some kind of mismanagement, bail the place out. Progressive salary reductions, where people who earn the most take the most cuts and people who earn the least take no cuts or minimal cuts. A bold fundraising campaign. I have no idea why Guilford hasn't already done this. Adjusting the tuition schedule. I do not want to charge students and families more tuition, but sometimes it is necessary. And students and faculty and staff, we all need to be part of that shared governance process so that the tuition schedule is adjusted in an ecosystem. I think it should be one of the last things we try, but it might be on the table. Partner sometimes with some for-profit enterprises, but under agreements that are consistent with our values. Some for-profit enterprises will help sponsor programs and positions. It is not a desirable approach. It's not at all a desirable approach, but sometimes it's one of the things institutions do. The point here is not at all that one of these is the right or wrong thing, but it's that we have options that the trustees and interim administration are refusing to exercise. One of the last ones is to get inventive, imaginative, and think about Guilford in 100 years. We could begin a process of converting the institution into an employee, student, alumni-owned co-op, a cooperative that is collectively owned and managed for the sake of the future of the liberal arts curriculum. It's going to keep blinking, making a fool out of me. I may just be stuck here all night. It's like some sort of neon sign. Yeah, I'm stuck. Somebody save me. All right. Once again, to close, this is, after all, an academic institution. I can cite my sources. Please ask any questions you'd like. I am so thrilled to see you all here. Every student here has power you don't know you have. Use it. This college is more yours as students than any trustee or any administrator. Do not get gamed by some sloppy consulting product that an interim president has sold the trustees. We deserve better. Thank you very much.